Yeah, the wall. Yeah, the wall was like so many things to me when I wrote Soulshaping. Like at first it was more like a battleground. Like I was at war with the impulse to write on the wall. I had done all these years of emotional healing and path excavation work, trying to uncover what my true path looked like. And then it got clear to me that I had this book in me, right? And at first, when I really owned that and got into that, I would get really lost in bringing the language forth, like days and days lost in it. But then I had this need to write here. I was in the back room of my house, and I felt this need to just start writing on the wall, just to give over to the process, let it come through me however it wanted to, right? But then I found myself resisting that, I'd back off from it because it felt so chaotic, out of control. I was on this raging river, but the raging river was me, and I wasn't really comfortable with that. I think I would retreat from the chaos of the creative process mostly because I associated chaos with suffering from my crazy childhood. It took me a while to understand there was a real difference between destructive chaos and growthful chaos. The whole soul-shaping journey is about growthful chaos, right? It just keeps demanding that we expand our habitual range of emotion beyond our comfort zone. The habitual ways of being dig in their heels. That's how we've survived, right? And then the next step on our cellular journey pushes up against us, demanding to be expressed and humanifest. So we can resist it, and I resisted it, and then feel all frustrated, and have truth aches and sacred grumbles, all these experiences of this as higher path calling you, but you're resisting it. Or we can just surrender to the self-creation journey, the dance of integration and confusion. Stepping back out into our growing edge and then integrating change before we step back out again. So after a while I got into the wall, I got into writing on it, and I would feel called out of bed by the need to write, sometimes on my hands, sometimes on the walls. And then I'd feel resistance, the next wave of resistance. It was coming from shame. I was so used to hiding my light under a bushel of shame. I had internalized some very staid and conformistic idea of normal or order. And I was carrying the shame forward from my parents and from their parents and everyone who'd been shaming, and we just could carry this through until somebody breaks the cycle, you know. But the call to write just kept at me, you know, and it got clear that there was no sense resisting it. It was I always say honoring my call was my best defense against sleeplessness. If I wrote, I slept. And if I didn't, I just lay awake all night berating myself, you know, beating myself up. You know, it's this whole tussle, this whole, you know, is between these two ideas of success. Kind of societal or survivalistic ideas of success. And a soul-driven idea. And from society's perspective, it's all about order. You know, they're trying to create order in the heart of the madness of it all, because we're still at this kind of wild, mad stage in the collective unconscious. But from the soul's perspective, you know, success is just about honoring your soul scriptures to the letter. That's it. Divine purpose. That's it. Just do it. And that's what shapes the soul to the next stage in its evolution. And through that lens, really, who cares what anybody thinks about you writing on your hands, or you're writing on the walls, or you're talking to yourself, or anything. It's really just about this way more profound interface with the why you're really here, you know, with the who you really are, and once you really get absorbed in that, other things start to seem so silly. I said in Soulshaping, and I really feel this is true, later in the book, as we honor our calling, we grant it more space inside of us. Light begets light at a certain point. No way to escape the inner beacon. Our calling begins to soak every aspect of our lives, whatever the cost or inconvenience. We cannot live without our call, because our calling has become us. You know, it's home is where the art is. There's just so many pathways of expressive possibility to live inside of us. It was fantastic, really. And so that's what happened to me. I just kept surrendering to the writing, and then it just became me. And writing on the wall started to become a more fantastic and free exercise. And then I started to tap into new language because I had space to roam inside. It was like, okay, this is okay. And all that stuff that came through in the Soulshaping dictionary, some of it came on the yoga mat, opening my body, opened me to the river language. But a lot of it has happened here in the back room, it's so funny, we long for order in this still crazy world, but it's our descent into creative, constructive forms of chaos that actually create a meaningful order, as opposed to a false order. Because there, in the heart of that sacred dance of imagination, we bring ourselves together, but like in the real way, from the inside out. I want to encourage everybody to just keep going to your interpretive and your expressive edge on every level of your soul-shaping journey. No matter what anybody thinks, nobody knows why you're here except you. You're the only one who can find that. The whole process is like a kind of self-forgetfulness, where we let go of our organizing principles, and we dunk our hearts in the river of essence. And then when we come back up for air, we have new eyes. So now that the book's out in the world, this wall, I'm loving it. Like, I love this wall. I don't want to ever sell this house just because I don't know how I would take the wall with me. It's like now it's like a reflection of my inner landscape, like an inner travelogue, a library of my inner world, a library of me. It's like my soul scriptures are staring right back at me, validating my very existence, telling me that by honoring them, by looking for them, by excavating them, by finding the voice that really reflected them, that I moved myself forward, I changed. And when I get distracted or feel old self-doubt patterns coming back into consciousness, I come back here, and it reminds me that I'm more than all that, And then I just get back to work, finding my distinct voice, trusting that only I know where to plant my feet next.